I should probably plug my microphone in. Let me do that for you.
Okay, welcome back to After 40. I have here with me today Bryan Wish. He is the founder and CEO of Arcbound, a thought leadership and personal branding agency. He helps entrepreneurs and executives turn their ideas into impactful platforms through content, strategy, and storytelling. He's also the host of The One Away Show. It's a podcast about life-changing moments. So welcome today, Bryan. I'm so excited that you're here to be with me today to talk about the future and midlife, because you're not in midlife. You are in your 30s. So I'm really excited to hear from you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope I can add a little value to your listeners and speak to my early years and maybe my later years to the best of my ability.
I think you will be. I have a few questions for you, but I would really urge you to jump in if you have something that I'm not asking, because I'm talking about something that I normally don't, which is pre-midlife. So, Bryan, looking ahead, where do you see yourself in your career over the next 10 to 20 years? And what does success look like to you now versus when you started Arcbound?
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing and asking the question. Success 10 to 20 years out in career. Just career, you want like personal? Like how do you want?
I do want personal. I was going to ask that second, but you know what? Dive in. Tell us everything.
Great. So yeah, I mean, look, I have always looked at my life as like a series of mountains to scale, and I don't think you can really scale all the mountains at once, but I've definitely maybe the last 7 to 10 years made the professional mountain and the kind of health mountain kind of the two main focal points, and haven't really brought in as many adventures into my life from let's just say a mountains analogy. But I think from a career, it's really been important to me to figure out at least something that I cared to do in the world. I never just wanted to make a ton of money and then wake up one day and be like, what's it all for? I was pretty set in my early 20s around figuring out something that I could. I was pretty in my early 20s. I was really interested in how do I package and take all these different parts of myself and bring that together in one roof, and then make that easily accessible and understandable for other people, which is ironically is like the core and the truth of Arcbound of how we do things today at the very front end of things, and so neat. Like my own problem became like where the business has shined and continues to shine. But 10 years down the road, I mean, I'm 7 years into this business. What I see this business very much scaling and hitting a pretty big trajectory in 2026 that, we can really ride a nice wave on for 5 to 7 years for sure, maybe longer. But I feels very much like early innings, given all we've learned in the last year and a half. And I see in 10 years, Arcbound being a very successful mid-market business. I very much see myself investing in other companies, probably at like a later stage. I'm really interested in private equity and how to invest in companies that are off the ground already that want to be more valuable, and really interested in building relationships with those kinds of entrepreneurs who have gotten somewhere. But first, I want to get there myself. I also really want to build a major young professional part of our business, or a separate business that helps young professionals maybe a year or two out of college, like really figure out their arc and their life. I'd work with, a lot of young professionals and mentor them, and not to get paid because I don't, but I have a pretty good program, and I think it can be very scalable. And I think it's like the class that's never taught in college that needs to be taught. And I would love to find a way to democratize it, because I think it would help a lot of ambitious people get clarity on their path and, create the opportunities for themselves for the rest of their life. And that'd be really rewarding. And I want to do something very scalable on that.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot of building right now.
Yeah.
And that's where you're really, you have the ideas and you're doing a lot of building. What do you think it's going to look like in terms of maybe midlife or later? Paint a picture of what you think your life will look like. You've built this, you're at the point where you've got these ideas out into the world. Are there any people or places or anything like that that you would like to be a part of, or that you can see yourself in that you're not in now?
Yeah, I mean, first, I mean, I definitely want like a family by the time I'm in my early to mid 40s, or at least, some kids and a wife, and do that part of life well. I've kind of put that off or not prioritized it just because I've had focus elsewhere. And actually, I think a lot of men do those things too early in life, actually, and then they can't really do the things they want to do later because of certain commitments. And so for me, I really want to be able to do that part of my life well. And not that you're ever perfectly ready, but I do think there are probably better times, or times where it becomes easier to do that when resources are a little more flowing. And I just wanted to be intentional about that. And that's a future version I'm working towards on the personal side. Whether I get there or not, TBD. But I hope. And then
Do you
I
think you'll still be building in your 40s and after, in your 40s and 50s? Do you think that you're always going to be building and it'll just be more of the same? Do you think that that'll shift or move in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always going to be pursuing ideas and building.
Mhm.
I think the way I think about building is going to be different, and it's probably going to be, um, I've learned so much in the last 7 years. It's forming how I'm taking the next steps in the next 5 years, but also like when I'm 8 to 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road, like the way I look at opportunities to pursue in my time, I think is going to be a lot different. And I'm probably going to have more commitments to other people in my life. So that means I'm probably going to have to look at opportunities a little differently, where I can't just be, I think I'll always be maniacally focused on the things I care about. And I don't think that burning passion is ever going to leave me. But I don't see it stopping. I think this is just a drug I was born with, and I've clearly found the drug. It's just balancing the drug with other parts of my life.
Is there anything about aging or reaching midlife that scares you or gives you a pause that you say, "Uh-oh, I don't know how I'm going to navigate that"?
I think if I'm like 45 and I'm like lonely and have no person but no family, and I've just like worked myself to the ground, uh, like that would be a
Mm.
failure for sure. And I forgot about like my parents. I care about relationships and friendships, but I'm also like okay to evolve from friendships. I think as you evolve, people around you evolve. So like I'm okay to let go of certain people at certain times. So, but I think like my family, having a family, and not being, um, isolated. I think that's a something to just have a perception on. I also think too, like health, right? Like I've learned a lot about my health in the last couple of years. I mean, I was in the gym 5, 6 days a week for 3.5 years, and I was following a pretty rigid program with strength, and I kind of like worked my way into getting my body stuck. And so the last 18 months, it's been kind of unraveling to like reset. And I'm like in Pilates, and I'm learning how to walk again and breathe again and do Pete. Like it's just like a complete reset. And I'm almost very grateful that I'm like learning this at 32 and not 50 and like trying to figure out how to make time. But I'm like really resetting a lot of health foundations. So, I'm not worried in my 40s I'm going to be healthy. It's just like giving myself the freedom to make time for those activities, because health is ultimately the top priority in my life, and not kind of having that taken away from me in a way that I value has been
Mhm.
beyond challenging the last 18 months, but I'm definitely coming through the tail end of it. So, um, I think health is going to be, it's a worry and an opportunity to make sure it's a focus today. And then just like 10 years out, like being able to travel more, like the ability, even though I'm young now, I think having the financial freedom and just the ability to be like, yeah, let's go to the beach, or let's do this, or let's like,
Mhm.
or just go to Europe. Like, why not? Like that seems really interesting to me. And I'd much rather do that, uh, and just kind of have the freedom around it to do. And I think life will always be nagging at you, but I am excited, I think to have a bit more abundance and as things continue to progress.
Sounds like you're really setting yourself up with thoughts about that without maybe even thinking about it. You're getting your health in order. You're really focused on your business so that it can be moving in the right direction so that you have abundance financially and have some plans for, making relationships a priority down the road. And on that thought, do you ever think about legacy, or do you have a definition of legacy? Does that play
Yeah.
into anything that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I wrote a article years ago during the pandemic when, the world had time to think or kind of go down different vices and not think. But I think I chose the thinking path. And I wrote this article about like my tombstone and like how it would read. And I kind of broke it down into areas of my life, like with work and with family and with my health and things I wanted to learn and travel to. And like I think those are still very much similar. It's been a bit more of a windier road maybe to those kind of things of how I want to live. But I think as I look down the look, I don't know. I mean, hopefully I live to like 100. And I get all the longevity kind of hacks and all
Mhm.
the things. But I mean, look, I hope one, like, if anything, I've inspired people to pursue the ideas that matter most to them and like do it in the face of fear and adversity and overcome the hardest and darkest moments. I think like that's important. It's important to me to build a business that has a ripple effect and impact beyond a tangible financial outcome. um, I think it's important that the movie Dead Poet Society by Robin Williams really inspires me. And I think what's beautiful about that movie is not telling those people to go like do a bunch of real estate transactions, and not that there's anything wrong with that. Like those industries are great. My parents are in them, but I think it's to me, it's like, can you like combine like a soul calling, like something that's really inside of you with something that can make a ton of money? That's really
Mhm.
interesting to me. And to like help other people think about how to do that for themselves is also very interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a fun legacy to leave. I want to be like a great father and husband and family person in that way. My dad set a phenomenal example, and my mom, like even though they're divorced, I mean they're incredible people. And I think the more older I get, the more I'm like, wow, what's special? Most people don't have two parents they just love. Like, the more you look around, and I think I got very lucky. Hopefully, I can do that for my own family one day. And yeah, I mean, I think being one to like learn and travel and be in super interesting conversations all the time, I get really bored like watching Netflix and like doing things that like don't stimulate my mind. It's like really hard for me. So like I'm usually I think just like being one who's always interested and curious in other people and how to make things better, and always trying to find problems to solve and people to help. I think it's a good legacy, like, finding my path and really helping a lot of people find theirs. I think that's a good way to live.
I love how you're describing all of this because you're really highlighting how we're sort of built to go through life. You've been talking about how you are building your company, you're putting your priority onto yourself and making sure that you are healthy and that you have the stimulation that you want. They're following your passion and you're putting real time and energy and effort into that. And that's what we're built to do, is to sort of figure out who we are when we're younger in our 20s and 30s and build our expertise, which you're doing. You have a podcast, you have a company. I know that hopefully you'll talk a little bit about it, how you're looking to rebrand and do a new website. And you have these plans where you're bringing in new expertise and new knowledge. And by midlife, we're built to sort of want to give that back in
Mm,
some way. And you talked a little bit about that. You want to have a family and you want to continue with your company, but move in a different direction where you're sort of reaping the rewards of it and have an opportunity to leave a legacy like your parents have. And it's refreshing to hear this from you because you actually put thought into a lot of this. I don't know that I did that when I was your age in my early 30s. So it's really cool to hear you talk about that. Um, Speaking of, you building and bringing in more expertise, tell me a little bit about your new venture that you're having that's launching.
Yeah, it's a reincarnation or an evolution of what has been the last 6 years. So I've been running the company Arcbound. The way it started was two things. One, I was doing a book launch for a B2B marketing tech executive in Washington D.C. He was selling his business in transition, also very young, like 32 at the time or 31, but I mean, worked me like a dog, and like I learned so much, and I'm so grateful, and screwed up so many times, but he stuck with me, and we had a lot of success together, and I just saw an opportunity, and I loved bringing him to life, and his ideas and his work, and I saw an opportunity to package all these things about him together, build this brand that ultimately would launch the book, and let him speak and do all these pieces. And I just realized that we were feeding 5 or 6 business models for all these different contractors, and no one had packaged it all together. And I just thought there was an opportunity to really build all these different pieces where we could define a brand, identity, build the identity, and then do the LinkedIn content, and do the newsletters, and do the podcasts, and write the books. And so over the last 6.5, 7 years, we finally put all those pieces together, because you got to find the talent, have the service paths, the monetization model, and it's not come without a fight. But I think we're at a very interesting inception point of taking off in a lot of ways. And so this new launch, it's really showing our value prop in the sense of like, where I want to be known for is finding the individuals who are trying to figure out all the things they want to say, and we're going to piece them together with the message and the visual brand and the portable identity, whether that's for their company or themselves after they sell their company. And then we can go activate the brand. We started the business just doing what everyone's figuring out now, which is the activation of, there's LinkedIn or a newsletter, but they don't understand how all the dots connect. And it takes a lot of deep work. And that's hard work to do, because like you can build a LinkedIn influencer brand on surface level BS, but like people read right through it after time. And I think for me, it's like I wanted to do something that had more depth and connective tissue. And so we finally built those parts, and we did our own process on ourselves. It looks unbelievable. I'm so stoked, but it also shows all the work we've done on the production side. So the new launch is, I think, a very much very nice way to show what we've done over the last 6.5 years. And then there's a whole nother enterprise side to this business we're piloting as well, where I think this thing can really hockey stick. So I'm just really excited about the future, but it hasn't come without a lot of learning lessons as well.
I love that. You are evolving, your company is evolving, and I love that you're looking forward to the future and all that it has to offer you. The cool thing is you didn't have a lot of scary things that you thought were ahead of you. And I'm really excited to hear that, because more often than not, people are a little afraid of their future. So you're a trailblazer in more ways than one.
Well, it's interesting you bring it up, because I'm actually have like a pretty interesting spiritual side. I have this psychic I've seen, and an astrologist who's a friend I met, and I'm pretty open-minded, right? And like I pull data points, and I'm like, all right, if enough people are saying the same things, they're probably right. And like, a couple of years ago, it was like pretty dark, and like it was very, very much verified by like certain things that were like on the future path. And like both of them now are saying like things do look pretty good in front of you. And I'm not saying like that's the only thing. Like I have a coach for work who's like very skilled at business. I have a good therapist person that I like go to for emotional support. Like I'm well resourced with, I think, the people around me, but I'm not scared to take in perspectives, and like use those perspectives to help like tune into like what I need. Even like my health, like I've been going through this crazy journey of like really resetting all these but I have like 3 or 4 different types of like a medical team that like now we're all starting to say the same thing. And like, I'm finally on the final like piece of this. And it's like, and it's, so I think things are looking up in a lot of ways, but I think it's one of the things I learned growing up from my mother is it's like, she always made it okay to ask for help or to get help. And I've never felt like I should have to solve something by myself or figure it out by myself. And so I've just learned to find the people who can help me as like my best skill set and not figure out all the things they know how to do. But I think it's a faster way to like scale the things in my life that I want. And it might be lazy to other people and like how I do it. But to me, I think it's the smartest way to do it. So, that's how I see the future for sure. I'm definitely more optimistic than not.
I like that. Do you have any advice for others so that they can have an optimistic outlook about their future lives?
Um, I mean, look, this time last year, like it was a 180. Like it's a very dark period, but like um, uh, I always believed there was a light ahead. Like I've always, even no matter how bad it gets, and we all go through moments in life, like I have always believed, like, hey, if you just keep pushing, there's always a way. And I've never been one to like give up or throw my hands in. Like the only things I've had to give up at are things in life where a coach or a teacher told me I couldn't do something. And that's why I hate normal company hierarchy and school hierarchy and all of it. Like I can't stand to be told like how high I can climb. And so like the normal systems of fitting in like never fit me. And so I don't really adhere to rules very well. And so I think a positive outlook is, I think when you're one to disrupt or break rules, you do make life hard on yourself sometimes, especially when you're not aware of the trail you're blazing or how fast you're blazing it and how that can hurt you. But I think just knowing, my mom always said growing up, in every crisis, there's an opportunity. And so I've always been trying to find a silver lining or something positive that might be in the negative. And it doesn't mean life's just always going to be sunshine and roses. But yeah, I that's not a perfect answer, but that's what I'd say.
Well, I like that. You're an optimist. And I think that basically what you're saying is that gather people around you as resources. Don't go it alone. And that, be open-minded and look at what you have as your strengths. That's kind of what I'm hearing from you, that I don't know if I summed that up for you.
Yeah. And I'd say one more thing, and I think in the last year, this has really come to life. Like I've surrounded myself in the business around maybe more fair-minded people, in the sense of, Blair, who runs I would say she's pretty much like the GM without the title right now, even though she'll get the title at some point. But she's amazing. But she was a lawyer by trade, and she's run 3 post-sales organizations, and she's very legitimate and scaled businesses. But she sees risk, and all she sees is risk. And then like when she first started, like we butted heads so much, but I've really grown to appreciate that, because I didn't realize how much I didn't see risk. And so that's been really good. And I put this other guy behind her business over the last year and a half named Pramod, who's been God's gift to the world to me. And, even just in the last couple of months, I couldn't see it at the time, but he's such a good operator. And, he's just more in the background doing a lot of like work on the back end with me, but all he sees is risk. He's very much optimistic and open-minded and very positive, but like he wants to make sure the house is in order. And I think I just want to I live in the future, and I'm like blinded by the future. I'm so far out. So having some people around me who can kind of pull me back, that I respect and will probably stand down to, it is really healthy. And I didn't have that prior when I was sprinting. And I think now I value walking a little slower in life, and also putting people around me who can be bumper rails for me, because I definitely need that.
So Bryan, where can people find you and all the projects you're working on?
You can go to arcbound.com and follow. We have a newsletter. I'd say it's pretty philosophical at times. It's pretty authority driven. You can sign up on the site. You can ping me on LinkedIn. It's Bryan with a Y. I tend to find those Bryans as more creative than Bryans with I. So I'm very biased. And that's it.
Great. So I will put that information in the show notes, but I urge you to check out Bryan's newly launched website that should be available right around the time that this will be airing. But also check him out on LinkedIn. So thank you, Bryan, for being with me today.
Thanks for the great questions and helping me see my future.